This was one of those things when we did it, I thought it was gonna be like, how am I gonna get people to eat sea urchin? We thought maybe, all right, we'll do this special one night and see what happens. The reaction that we got from our customers was like, they just loved it. This wasn't a dish that I thought was gonna be an important dish, but in my career, and it turned out to be very. Hi, this is Tom Colicchio, and this is the dish that launched my career. This dish goes back probably 30 years, but this dish probably led to Gramercy Tavern. I was doing an event for Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry, and I decided to do this dish for that event. And Danny Meyer walked by and thought it was like the most delicious thing he's ever eaten, and came over and introduced himself, and we kind of hit it off. And then the following year, when I was closing Mondrian, I gave Danny a call and said, I think we should work together. So in a way, this dish led to Gramercy Tavern. I think the most important element of this dish is the freshness of both the sea urchin and the crab. Now, we use fresh sea urchin, but you can use uni. Uni is a little different than fresh sea urchin. Uni is cured, but the freshness is really important. You can't hide that. You can't hide an inferior product. The potato puree has a ton of butter in it, and these are essentially the Joël Robuchon potatoes. But what most people don't, I see a lot of young cooks make this or try to make it, and they melt the butter. You can't do that. The secret in doing that potato dish is keeping the butter from breaking. So you're almost treating the potato as a sauce, because if it breaks, it's gonna get oily, and it's gonna taste oily in the mouth versus the richness you get from the butter if the butter is emulsified into the potato. And so it isn't a simple thing of just melting a bunch of butter and pouring it into the potato. That's not how it works. With cooking, the only way to become better is to cook. I hear this all the time. I love cooking. How do I get better? Cook. That's it. It's like anything. You play an instrument, how do you get better? You play. You're practicing. Every time you're at a stove, you're practicing. You're not just, creating or chefing. You're practicing your craft. And that's why it's very important to pay attention, learn those techniques. I try to teach people to cook without recipes. Sometimes that's difficult. And the one question that always comes up, well, how do you know how much of everything? And for me, it's visual. If I'm looking to do a crab and sea urchin fondue, do you give equal weight to the crab and the sea urchin? Do you give more weight to the crab? How much butter? You're essentially just looking at it, you're creating a sauce. So for me, it's all just a ratio that I can see visually. It's hard to explain it, and then how does that play with all the other ingredients? This dish I think is emblematic of sort of how I cook. It's sort of exploring new ingredients and trying to, sort of juxtapose them in very different ways. I tend to be a visual cook. I need to see things. I need to walk through a farmer's market. I need to walk through a walk-in and see what's there. I used to spend a lot more time in the kitchen than I do now. I ordered all the food, so I knew it was coming in. And I was constantly in touch with all the suppliers to see what was new and see what was happening. For me, then, it just became a puzzle. And so you start picking and choosing and moving things around because I didn't want to repeat it. What I called component cooking, because you were just taking components of everything. And if you knew how to approach each one of those components, then you can very easily create dishes. That creative time now is something that I have to almost force and schedule, because I'm not ordering the food every day. And so for me, again, I'll go walking through the green market, and that's where I find a lot of inspiration. A lot of times it's very funny, if I'm doing a dinner party at home, my wife will say, well, can I help? I'll go shopping. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. How do you not know? Because I haven't seen it yet, I don't know. I have to walk around and I'll look and say, oh, I like that, that looks good, okay, let's buy it. And then we'll put it on the table and I'll figure it out. And I still look at dishes like the sea urchin dish that I did 30 plus years ago, and I look at a bunch of other dishes that I did during that time. I still carry those dishes around with me. They're altered, they're changed throughout the years, maybe. In some cases they're simplified, because back then I was doing food that was much more complicated. Again, it all starts with the visual. It's very seasonal. It's what's around, it's what's in front of me, and that's how I can create.